Who was your hero? Who's your hero now? I bet you think they are perfect. Because we have this way, don't we, of elevating our heroes. We put them on this pedestal way up here, and we imagine that they are just brilliant. Mother Teresa, brilliant woman. Princess Di, phenomenal woman. Alice Walker, incredible woman. And we love talking about our heroes. We love talking about our heroes' accomplishments and their accolades, all the great things that they've achieved, but we don't really talk about our heroes' screw-ups. We don't talk about their mistakes or the things that they kind of sucked at. So I want to tell you about a hero. This hero is on the hunt for a cure for HIV. This hero is so close to figuring out how to wipe HIV out of his city, Amsterdam, and that's just the starters. He has a whole vision of how to wipe HIV off our planet. His name is Dr. Joseph Langer. Everyone knows him as Europe. And he pioneered a way to put the most expensive HIV medicines into the hands of the world's poorest people. Yup would cuss out drug company executives in their suits and ties and say, "You need to cut the cost of your drugs, and you're being unethical. Give me your drugs for free so I can put them in a clinical trial in South Africa." Yup was my hero. I first met him when I was 17. I was a bit of a slacker back then. Wasn't really turning up for class or for high school very much. I just wasn't interested in the academic side of things. And then I heard about this Dutch doctor/scientist called Joop, who was changing the world. Joop was saving lives. And so when I ran into him in this conference in London when I was 17, I kind of just went up to him and blurted out, "I want to be like you." And Joop looked at me and said, "Okay." And I said, "Well, I want to be like you because I want to save people's lives. I want to help people." And Joop said, "If you really want to help people, first you need to learn how to take care of a person. Learn how to look after someone. Go to medical school." So I did. In the summer of 2014, Joop gets on a plane to go to an AIDS conference. This was his life. He was a real frequent flyer. He was regularly crisscrossing the skies, jumping from one continent to another to go to these prestigious gatherings of scientists. And on this day, July 2014, he gets on a plane to go to the International AIDS Society conference in Melbourne, Australia. But he never makes it. His plane doesn't make it. An hour and a half into his flight, the plane was shot at, and it was shot out of the sky. And it crashed and burned in a field in the Ukraine. Shot at by pro-Russian rebels who aimed a Buk ground-to-air missile right at the nose of that plane. And everyone, every single person on Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 died. All 298 children, babies, men, women, my hero, all of them died. And so I guess I should tell you more about my hero's accomplishments and his accolades, all these amazing awards he won, but the thing is, after Joop died, I started interviewing his friends and his family members. I started interviewing his lab mates, his patients even. I wanted to dig deeper and really get to know this man who had been my inspiration for becoming a public health doctor. And they told me loads of stories. They made me read loads of papers to learn more about him and all these experiments he did and the things that he pioneered. And they also told me stories about the things he did that got on everyone's nerves. They told me stories about his screw-ups, his mistakes. And I want to tell you some of those things too. Joop was really impatient. Like, oh, he would get mad if he felt like you weren't working quickly enough.
Where are the results of this lab experiment? Why is this report not ready? What is everyone in here doing with their time? Progress was never quick enough for him. He could have a pretty foul temper too. It wasn't just those drug company execs in their suits and ties who he would shout at. Sometimes it'd be his friends or his lab mates. He could be kind of pushy too, literally pushy. I heard stories about just how impatient he was and how you didn't want to be in line with him if you were waiting to get into somewhere, because he'd be like looking over your head and trying to get in there first. He wanted to be the first one in and the first one out. I talked to scientists who worked alongside him, and they said he was a good scientist, but he wasn't the best. I talked to doctors who worked alongside him, and they said, yeah, decent doctor, but not the best. In fact, some of his patients complained about him, especially if you had just returned from a trip to Uganda or Kenya, or a place where he had seen people die in the dozens because they lacked access to the most basic medicines.
And then back in Amsterdam, his patients would say, Dr. Langer, I have a headache. Dr. Langer, I have nausea. Dr. Langer, I have side effects from these HIV medicines. And you would say, well, at least you have medicines. And you know, doctors aren't really supposed to talk to their patients like that. When he worked at that hospital in Amsterdam, he would fire off these really scathing memos to the hospital's top officials, basically calling them dumbasses and telling them they didn't know their elbow from their knee and didn't have a clue about what was going on in their own hospital. Sometimes he'd draft a memo, show it to his boss, Sven, and Sven would look at it and say, oh gosh, you can't send this. You're going to get fired. You're going to get me fired. Please, don't send this, Yup. And Yup would send it anyway. A few years after that, he moved to Geneva to work at the World Health Organization. You know, just the world's largest health bureaucracy. And when he was there, he'd get invited to the top gatherings of scientists in the world. I'm talking Nobel laureates, the people who discovered cures. And the way that he would respond to these invitations was on World Health Organization official letterhead. You would say, dear sir, thank you for your kind invitation. I am not looking forward to the presentation of Dr. So-and-so because I've seen him present and he's very boring. And I will bring a box of rotten tomatoes to throw at this other doctor. Thank you for your kind invitation. Yours sincerely, Yup Langer. He was just really outspoken. He could be forgetful too. I heard stories of how he'd have a stack of really important lab notes. He'd be reading them on the tram in Amsterdam, put some on the seat next to him, hop off at the next stop to go to the hospital, and then watch as the tram went past him, carrying half of his very expensive notes. There was times when he left a briefcase full of documents in the street, and his poor family was left to traipse around the streets of Amsterdam trying to locate this briefcase.
And there's one other thing that I heard he sucked at. Romance. Like, he loved women, he loved being in love, he was so affectionate and caring. But when it came to seduction, he was corny as heck. I had this one story of how he got his boss in the hospital to write out a poem for this woman that Yup admired, and he got his boss to put it in the coat pocket of the woman that he really liked at the time. He'd get everyone involved in these elaborate, corny games of romance. I mean, he was a brilliant guy, but he was corny. And a hero. And that's what I learned from listening to these stories. I learned that my hero was a whole human being, was a multifaceted person. I learned that you don't have to be perfect, to be the person in the room who makes the biggest impact of everyone else there. You don't have to be perfect to be a hero. You can be like you. You can get up off your imperfect ass and work your imperfect skills and just try your imperfect hardest. After the tragedy of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17, there were obituaries written about Yup. There were obituaries who talked about this man who had pioneered a way to help pregnant women with HIV give birth to healthy babies. Imagine that. The women carried the infection, but their children were born without HIV and were born healthy. He even pioneered a way to give health insurance to fishermen and farmers in countries like Nigeria, who, before that, if they got injured on the job or a kid got sick at home, they were just emptying out their pockets, emptying out their bank accounts, going broke over an illness. And Europe found a way to protect their livelihoods. By some people's estimates, Europe saved hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people's lives, and yet he wasn't perfect. He was impatient and pushy and shouty and forgetful and corny and a hero.
He taught me that you don't have to be the best person in your field. You don't have to be the most genius scientist or the best doctor to be the person who lives a life of consequence, to be the person that does the most good. I think more than anything, in his death, in his legacy, Europe teaches us that you can be your imperfect self and you can be a hero. Thank you for listening.